Chapter 6, Part 2. Traveling in the white major leagues would probably be the worst part of it. Hotel clerks would tell Jackie he couldn't sleep there because he was black, and they'd be as rude about it as possible. When he'd been traveling by bus for hours in the darkest of night, all he'd be able to do sometimes was think about how hungry he was. Then he'd run into a restaurant manager telling him how he couldn't eat with the rest of the team. Maybe it would be better, the manager would explain, if Jackie came around back and ate in the kitchen with the help. Or maybe he could just stay on the bus and someone would bring him a sandwich. They had been talking for almost 3 hours. Actually, Ricky had been talking for almost 3 hours. Jackie had thought he understood as well as anyone how important it was that the first black Major League Baseball player succeed. Ricky had impressed him with the seriousness of the situation. He wanted to be as honest with Ricky as Ricky had been with him. He wasn't as nervous now as he had been at first. "Mr. Ricky, do you want a baseball player who's afraid to fight back?" "No," Ricky said. "I want a ball player with guts enough not to fight back." Jackie would have been willing to turn the other cheek. Any fighting back would have to be done with his bat and his glove, not with his fist and his mouth. Jackie had begun to like and trust Ricky. He was impressed by his sincerity. Ricky was certain he had made the right choice. Jackie Robinson had the intelligence and personality to be the pioneer he was looking for. The only question was whether or not he was willing to do it. Jackie had always enjoyed challenges, and now he was being offered the biggest one of his life. He looked at Ricky with a steady gaze and said in a calm voice, "Mr. Ricky, I think I can play ball in Montreal. I think I can play ball in Brooklyn, but you're a better judge of that than I am. If you want to take this gamble, I will promise you there will be no incident." It was a promise he never broke. Ricky and Robinson agreed to a contract with the Montreal Royals, the top Dodger farm team. Jackie would get a $3,500 bonus for signing and $600 a month. If he made it to Montreal, his next step would be the big leagues. This was the beginning of one of the longest and closest relationships in the history of sports. Over the years, it would be described as father-son by some and teacher-student by others. It was a relationship built on continual and mutual respect. 2 months later, on October 23, 1945, the signing of Jackie Robinson was made public. The president of the Montreal Royals said he had a very important announcement that would affect baseball from coast to coast. The reporters gathered in his office that day and were eager to hear the news. The Royals president, Hector Racine, introduced Jackie Robinson and said they had had him sign as a shortstop for their club. "We made this step for 2 reasons. First, because we think of him as a ball player. Second, we think it as a point of fairness." For a moment, the room was silent. Then the reporters exploded from their seats and raced to phone in the story. When they returned, they were allowed to ask Jackie questions. Although Jackie appeared calm, he was nervous inside. He told them he felt like a guinea pig, but was honored to have been chosen to play such an important role. He pointed out that he had spent most of his athletic days playing in integrated situations. Yes, he expected problems, but he was willing to confront them so he could do something for his race. The reporters were impressed. Their articles said that he seemed intelligent and confident without being arrogant. "Fight for Robinson may split baseball right open," the New York Post declared. It was the most controversial sports story of the year. Newspaper and radio reporters scurried around trying to get reactions to the signing. Those reactions came fast and furiously. Some people suggested that white ball players would be driven from baseball because blacks would take over. Some said it just wouldn't work. There would be problems on the road when players had to live side by side. Black players were also critical. Some felt there were players in the Negro Leagues who were better and more experienced than Jackie, who had played only 1 year of serious baseball. Other people were critical of Ricky's choice, or so they said. They brought up Jackie's past with UCLA and the Army, saying he was a troublemaker. Although few had actually seen him play, they agreed that he didn't have what it took. He was a 1,000 to 1 chance. The Sporting News said that at 26, Robinson was too old for a rookie. They said he would soon find himself in over his head in organized baseball. The owners of the Negro League teams were also angry. It would ruin their businesses, they accurately predicted. They didn't want to hear any of this talk about how it was going to benefit their race. All they knew was that it wasn't going to benefit their pocketbooks. The Kansas City Monarchs said Ricky had no right to sign a player they had under contract. They hadn't even been given the courtesy of being notified. The Major League white owners were also worried about the future of the Negro Leagues. If the leagues folded, the money the Major League owners made renting their ballparks to black teams would be lost. Ricky was killing baseball, they said. You ruin your club, and I'll run mine, was Ricky's reply. It was true that being deprived of that rental money would hurt the white owners financially. However, the real reason they protested so loudly was that they were, by and large, racist. Major League team owners believed that black people were inferior to white people. They didn't want to have anything to do with them on or off the baseball field. The Dodgers were not surprised by the comments. Branch Rickey's son, nicknamed Twig by sports writers, issued a blunt statement. He said that the Dodgers had signed Jackie because they thought he could help them win. They weren't looking for trouble, but they were prepared to lose some of their Southern players who just didn't feel they could play with a black man. Some players now with us may even quit, but they'll be back in baseball after they work a year or two in a cotton mill. Take it or leave it, the Twig was saying. Not all white or all Southern players were hostile. Many said they wished Robinson luck and meant it. Pee Wee Reese, the Dodgers shortstop, was from Kentucky. He heard the news while on a U.S. Navy ship returning from the Pacific. The fact that Jackie was black wasn't as important to Reese as the fact that he played shortstop. Those who hoped for a negative response from the popular Dodger were disappointed. When his ship docked, Reese met the reporters. With a smile, he told them, "Just my luck. The first Negro to be signed to a contract in modern organized baseball not only has to be signed by the Brooklyn organization, but he also had to be a shortstop." In one sentence, Reese had made it shortstop versus shortstop, rather than white man versus black man. Ricky emphasized that he had signed Jackie because he wanted to win a pennant, not because he wanted to integrate baseball. When I go after baseball players, I never notice the color of their skins. I never meant to be a crusader. My purpose is to be fair. My objective is to win games. This, of course, wasn't entirely true. Ricky was a crusader, campaigning against things he believed were wrong, whether it won him games or not. Winning was part of it, but not the heart of it. In general, the decision was a popular one. Many fans felt it was about time America truly became the land of liberty and equality. Jackie's family was proud, but they were frightened because they realized what Jackie would have to go through. Wendell Smith, one of the great black sports writers of the day, said, "Jackie has the hopes and ambitions of 13 million black Americans heaped upon his broad and sturdy shoulders."